Football is supposed to be decided by moments of brilliance, grit, and nerve. What unfolded at the Emirates was none of those things. Instead, it was another grim reminder that the Premier League's biggest games are increasingly being settled not on the pitch, but in a VAR booth by decisions so baffling they leave players, managers, and fans staring into the void. Arsenal did not lose this match. It was taken from them. From the opening whistle, Arsenal imposed themselves. The tempo was high, the pressing aggressive, the movement sharp. Manchester United, as has often been the case this season, looked reactive rather than proactive, a compact, cautious, waiting for moments rather than creating sustained pressure. The Emirates crowd felt it too. This was Arsenal territory. And yet, as the game wore on, a familiar tension crept in, not the kind caused by a dangerous counterattack or a tactical switch, but the kind that arrives when every 50-50 challenge feels like it could be interpreted against you. When players hesitate, not because of the opposition, but because of the whistle. Then came the moment. A decision so astonishing it instantly drained the stadium of belief. A VAR intervention that re-refereed the game from a microscope angle, detached from context, flow, and common sense. What should have been a routine continuation of play or at worst a debatable on-field call turned into the decisive act of the match. No clear and obvious error. No overwhelming evidence. Just intervention for the sake of intervention. And somehow, Manchester United walked away beneficiaries. Let's be clear, VAR was introduced to correct blatant injustices, offside calls missed by yards, violent conduct unseen by officials, goals scored with obvious handballs. It was not introduced to manufacture controversy or to reinterpret football into a series of forensic still images. Yet week after week, that is exactly what it has become. At the Emirates, Arsenal were punished not for breaking the rules, but for existing in a system that no longer values momentum, intent, or fairness. United were handed a lifeline they did not earn and they took it, as any team would. This is not an indictment of Manchester United. It is an indictment of the process.
Frustration on the touchline said everything. This was not the rage of a manager whose team had been outplayed. This was the disbelief of someone watching his work undone by forces beyond football logic. Players mirrored it too, arms raised, faces asking the same question fans were screaming from the stands and their screens. What are we even playing anymore? The most damning part is not that Arsenal dropped points. It's that this keeps happening, selectively, inconsistently, and without accountability. Similar incidents in other matches are waved away. Identical challenges elsewhere are ignored. But here, under the brightest lights, the rules bend. And that's where the anger comes from. Because when fans talk about corruption or bias, it's not always literal. Often, it's about the erosion of trust, the sense that outcomes are being shaped by interpretation rather than competition, that the margins are no longer human error, but institutional confusion. Arsenal deserved more, not because they are Arsenal, but because they played like the team trying to win the game. They controlled territory, dictated rhythm, and asked the right questions. Manchester United survived, and were rewarded by a decision that will dominate headlines far longer than any passage of play. This match will be remembered not for goals, tactics, or heroics, but for a VAR call that tipped the scales. And until the Premier League confronts the growing crisis of confidence in its officiating system, nights like this will keep happening. Not defeats, not victories, but robberies in broad daylight.